Good morning. I'm here today to show you how to fill a pastry bag. These are disposable pastry bags, and how to begin piping borders for your cakes. The video that Chef Traver did, which I am posting on in your content folder, will show you how to actually ice the styrofoam cake dummy and to do various textures on that dummy. So you'll see that in Chef Traver's video. I'm going to show you how to pipe borders and how to properly fill your bag. So here's a small bag, which is what we're going to be using. Here's the large bag, and the reason you need the large bag is because this tip is so big. If you tried to put it in this bag, you would have no space left for any icing. So the big tip is used with the big bag, the smaller tips with the smaller. So we open the bag, fold it in half, make a cuff. Now I've cleaned my counter because I'm probably going to pipe right on the counter. And the first thing we do is take the bottom part of the coupler and drop it into the bag. And oops, there we go. Narrow side down. Give it a little push until you don't want to jam it in there because you have to kind of pull it back. And then you are going to make a little mark with a pen right on the end so you know where to cut. All right, then push that back. Cut right at just a smidge above it and give this a little push, and you're now ready to put your first tip on. The first tip that we're going to use is the 22. If you don't have a 22, which you should, it should be in your knife kit. This came in your knife kit. You'll have a 23, which is slightly smaller. But if you have the 22, put the 22 over the top, take the screw portion of the coupler, place it over, and then screw it down. Now this allows you to remove tips using the same icing. Keep your icing white this week. Next week, we're gonna color icing, but we're keeping it all white. So now you can do one of two things. You can put your hand in the cuff, open the bag up, take a spatula, and let's take a look at the consistency of this icing. I've softened it so that it's what I would consider medium stiff. This will be perfect for piping borders, maybe a little bit softer for when you're going to ice your cake, but for borders, this is really good. So you take your bag, tuck your hand under there, see how you're protecting your hand, lift, drop this straight in, and then use your thumb to scrape it off. We'll do it again. Now, I cannot push a lot of icing out of a bag, so I never overfill my bag, and I don't want you to either. All right, so I would say that's plenty. Give your bag a shake, 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 shake. Place it on the counter, your work surface, and push it down towards the tip. What we want to do is make sure we don't have any air pockets, which is kind of hard to get them all out. You can use the side of your little crank spatula. You can also use your bench scraper. Give it a little push. You can even use the handle of your bench scraper. However you manage, you want to get the icing pushed down to the bottom. Once you've done that, you're going to pinch the bag, give it a little cinch, give it a little twist, open your dominant hand, drop the bag in, and you are now ready to pipe. Okay, so now we're going to pipe our first designs. I have an old turntable here that I've had forever. I could pipe directly on this turntable if I wanted to. I could push this aside. I could pipe right on my counter. I could pipe on a cardboard circle and then wipe it off. You have many choices as well. You can use the back of a tray, a sheet pan. I think I'm gonna do it, I'll do it here. And I'll do it directly on the surface so that you can see what's going on. easiest first thing we pipe are stars. And we do that by holding this bag straight up in the air, squeezing with our dominant hand, having the bottom of the tip touch just a hair off the surface of the cake or a hair off the surface of whatever you're piping, and you're gonna squeeze and pull. Squeeze and pull, squeeze and pull, and you just keep repeating that action, trying to put even pressure and get them all in a straight line and in a row. You can put them next to each other. Probably help if I put my glasses on. Okay, yeah, it would help. And you can make little squares, you can make designs using this technique. It's not used very much anymore, but certainly need to know how to do it. Push them close together, even pressure, so they're all the same. Those are stars. You are going to have to pipe a row of stars. The next thing that we're going to pipe, which is very simple, are rosettes. And rosettes are done, again, by holding the bag straight up in the air, squeezing from the top. Do not squeeze with two hands. You can use your non-dominant hand to kind of guide the bag, but you don't want to squeeze with two hands. The rosette is a complete circle going counterclockwise. The amount of pressure is about the same for the stars as it is for the rosettes. And you are going to just come slightly off the surface. You're going to squeeze, come around. When you get back to the center, stop squeezing and pull down. Repeat, squeeze, back to the center, stop squeezing and pull down. Now, if you don't pull down, you're going to end up with this. It's going to look like a candy kiss, and you don't want that. We don't want the candy kiss. We always want to pull down. And we use rosettes as to portion cakes and stick candles in, any number of things. That is the rosette. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you, and you can watch these videos multiple times. The next thing I'm going to show you is one of the most important, I think, the most important borders, and it is a shell border. Now, we change direction. Everything we do with this bag is about direction and pressure, the amount of pressure. We also travel with the bag. Here, we weren't really traveling. We were moving the bag in a circle, but we weren't going anywhere. Here, with a shell border, we are going to travel. So now we're going to hold, hang on, let me grab a paper towel, which is always a good idea to have a little paper towel standing by so you can wipe your tip. But the shell is, the bag is held at a 45-degree angle. The beginning of the shell is wider, and then it kind of fans out into and thins out into a little comet tail. So we squeeze, let it build up, release the pressure, and pull. So what you're looking at from the side is this wider beginning and a narrow tail. You start the next shell at the tip of the previous shell. So I'm going to squeeze and pull, squeeze and pull. Whoops, my tray is moving. Squeeze and pull, squeeze and pull. Now, when I'm pulling, I am releasing the pressure. That's how come this tail narrows out. This is very important that you learn how to do this. This is what goes on the edge of so many cakes. It gets piped to the edge. When you're pulling to create that tail, you're actually hitting your cake. You're dragging your tip on the cake. Now here's what I want you to notice. We are squeezing, letting it fan out, and then releasing the pressure, okay? So you can see that on the edge. What you don't want to do, and what happens a lot, is students do this. Go up and down. That's a snail. That is not a shell. So you want to work on keeping your shells distinct. Each shell is separate. Even though it creates this border, each one is separate. There is the other thing that you can do with shells is to create what's called a reverse shell. And here we're piping a regular shell, but its little comet tail is going to turn, kind of like a question mark. So we're going to squeeze and turn, squeeze and turn, squeeze and turn, squeeze and turn. So each one begins at the tip of the previous one, but its tail turns first to the right, then to the left. If you were doing it on the edge of a cake, it would look like this. Squeeze and turn, squeeze and turn. And this is common. This is a common little border you see on cakes. The key here, people, is getting these perfect. Practicing and getting them perfect. I like to tell students, I don't know if anybody decorates in a supermarket, but in a supermarket you have a quota. You know, you have to decorate so many cakes in a short amount of time, and a lot of times you'll see them make borders that look like this, big long swoops. You'll see that on supermarket cakes. Why? Because they can scooch around a cake in no time. It doesn't look awful. So those are the 3 basics or 4 basics that we want to work on. Stars, rosettes, not that one with the tip up, straight shells, reverse shells, and then I'm going to show you one more, which is called a zigzag border. And I like it because it really is exactly what you're doing here. You're just changing. Let's see, we got to make a little space here. Let's get rid of this long border. Put that back. Make sure, people, that you save this icing. Remember, do not eat. This is only for decorating. I know Raven trying to hide it from her grandpa. Okay. So I put a little more icing in my bag. Okay, so the bag is refilled. I've cleaned the tip. I'll show you how to do a simple little zigzag border. With the zigzag border, rather than holding the bag at a 45-degree angle, we kind of hold it at a 35. We hold it a little bit lower, maybe a 30. And basically you're squeezing even pressure and you're moving the bag up and down as you're piping. So you're going up and down, up and down, up and down. Kind of back and forth, trying to keep it, oops, that was a bad one, nice and even. And then when you finish that, this would be used on a larger cake, obviously. You can then take the same tip, notice we've done all this with the same number 22, and we can make a much smaller shell border right over the top of this. So I'm going to start in the center, and how do I get a smaller one out of the same tip? I put less pressure on the bag. So I'm going to squeeze and pull, squeeze and pull, squeeze and pull, squeeze and pull, squeeze and pull. And then I have a shell border over the top of the zigzag border. Now, if I were to, let's see, I didn't bring it. I guess we'll have to save that for next week. So you have 4 separate borders to work on. You're going to do the zigzag border with the shell on top. You're going to do the shell border. You're going to do the reverse shell border. And then you're going to do practice the rosettes and the stars. And you are going to, for your assignment, do a minimum of 12 inches of these various borders. And it's all spelled out for you in your assignment. Remembering to keep the icing white. When you're done with it, simply take your offset spatula, like I'm gonna do. I'm opening up the container and just scooping it up and putting it back so that you can reuse it for another day. And that should be enough to get you started. You want to practice before you take your photos. Make sure that you're happy with your end results. We're looking for even, consistently shaped and sized decorations, and we will work on our flowers for next week.